Welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Tricia Nelson. How's it going, Tricia?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing it. Sorry about the link. Sorry I had that messed up, but
Oh, no worries. No worries.
that's the world of virtual now, right? Like we
Yeah, yeah. It's all about the links.
yeah, have to deal with it. So
Yep.
Tricia is very famous for her knowledge of hunger, her knowledge of how people eat emotionally, and mindfulness of what they're ingesting in their body. So if you could, I guess just tell us like how you got into that. What made you think like, hey, people need to be aware of what they put in their body.
Yeah. So I became aware of that because I put too much in my own body. So I was 50 pounds overweight and I hated it. I hated being overweight and I struggled with my weight for a long time, and diets didn't help me. So I went on lots of diets and pills and potions and lotions, and I didn't really get anywhere. I'd always put the weight back on. I had like five different sizes of pants in my closet because I never knew what size I'd be. I had these crazy thoughts like, oh, maybe I'll contract a disease where I automatically lose weight without having a diet, or maybe I'll join the army and they'll force me to exercise at boot camp because I hated exercise. So I had some really out there thoughts about weight and weight loss because anything traditional I tried didn't work for me. So I felt really frustrated. And thankfully, I met somebody who showed me how to lose weight really from the inside out. And that really means that I was able to address the emotional eating, which is really overlooked. Like a lot of people try to lose weight by focusing on food and calories and ketones. And, there's so many fad diets out there. But if you're using it to deal with a chronic weight issue, usually that chronic weight issue is really caused by emotional eating. So a diet is just trying to fix the symptom and not the real problem. So once I got help to do that and was able to lose weight and keep it off really for several decades, when that happened, I started helping other people and showing them what I did. And I've really put it together in my book, in my programs. I have a step-by-step process for overcoming emotional eating, and it works like a charm. And my clients are super happy. And it's just a better way to live. And it's a way that you can lose weight without dieting. The solution makes you better than you were if you hadn't had the problem in the first place. It's worked for me and it's worked for my clients, and it's not hocus pocus. It's really about, healing from the inside out.
Absolutely. I mean, me and a good friend of mine, Hannah Lopez, we were talking about, she wants to do some stuff with healthy eating. And we were just talking about how so many people have bodily issues and they go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, take this pill and take that. But it's like, what about what they're eating? Like, did you ask them that? Like, did you ask them how much they eat for breakfast or lunch or dinner? And then, what does it consist of? So a lot of people don't even understand that, whatever they're eating could fix all their issues.
Yeah, I mean, my experience, or most of the clients I have, they know a lot about nutrition, but it doesn't make a damn bit of difference because they can't follow through on it. I mean, come on, in our culture, we're pretty clear that salads are better than pizza, right? So it's not like you need to have a advanced degree to know that junk food, fries, burgers might not be the healthiest thing to eat. But when that's what we're craving, or it's like, no, damn it, I want a pizza. You kind of, you got to look at that and what that's about. And it's not, I mean, pizza's great. I'll give you that. But the fact is that people who are emotional eaters, they've got underlying stuff like a burden of emotions and like stress and stuff that makes them just crave heavier foods, because a salad's not going to cover those emotions up, whereas a pizza and donuts and, burgers will. And so that's really what I do, is I show people kind of what that underlying stuff is about so that they can no longer crave those, like literally stop craving those foods. Because if you crave, snacky foods, chocolate and ice cream and, chips and that kind of thing, when you crave that, it's hard to say no, without giving in. Like you might say no for like a couple weeks, but then you're like, good God, like just, Katie bar the door, give me that food. And so, I really help people settle down, deal with stress, have new ways of coping with life so that they're not constantly thinking, boy, I'd like to just take a nosedive into a whole vat of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, I mean, so many people they feel bad or if they feel good, either way, they might want to crave something that isn't good for them. And sometimes you tell yourself, ah, it's okay. I just did this, so I'm good. And everybody just deals with it differently.
Yeah, yeah. It's really the people I find come to me for help are really the ones who have kind of like yo-yo dieters or people who have a lot of weight to lose and they just feel frustrated. They've tried lots of diets that haven't worked for them. They just they have, their doctors told them they're diabetic or pre-diabetic, or they need to stop eating sugar, but they can't stop eating sugar. Those are the types of people that generally like, you know what, I need to check out what this Heal Your Hunger thing is about. And that's the name of my company is Heal Your Hunger.
So when you discover, this is what I want to do. I want to teach people about emotional eating. Did you feel like that was something that was going to be like, oh, everybody's going to understand this, or did you feel like, oh, nobody's going to understand this? I'm going to have so much work ahead of me.
Yeah, well, it's true. I started, kind of going down this road a while back, and nobody knew what emotional eating was. When I started my podcast 4 years ago, the Heal Your Hunger show, there was more knowledge about what emotional eating is, but still, most people don't understand it. And so there's a learning curve still. And so a lot of what I do is just explaining, like, you don't have to be fat to be an emotional eater. You don't have to be a binger to be an emotional eater. You don't have to eat, snacks to be an emotional eater. It's really about, first of all, the choices of foods that you eat. Like if you prefer potatoes over broccoli or bananas over apples, or berries, it's like we crave like sugar, starchy, fatty foods because they deaden our emotions. They kind of numb us out. And that's an emotional choice. Even if you don't go overboard too much or binge too much, if you're eating meat and potatoes every night and you really have no penchant for vegetables, usually it's because you want heavier, more sedating foods. So that's nobody thinks of that. They're like, no, damn it, I want French fries. Like they don't know that there's more to it than that. Like, and I didn't either. Honestly, Jackson, I at first thought when I heard about emotional eating, it was many years ago, but when I heard about it, I thought that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. I just like food. Like I just like
Get it?
food. Right.
Yes.
But which I did. Food is awesome. But after I learned, like I heard about it, I started to notice my relationship with food. And I'm like, it is different than my friends. Like we'll go out to eat and they'll order like a sandwich and it'll come with fries and they'll eat their sandwich and pick up their fries. But I'll eat my fries and pick up my sandwich. It's like I want the greasier, heavier foods more than my friends do. And then I want to go home and have ice cream because you have to have like sweet with your salty. So it just kind of went on and on and on. Whereas most people can eat a couple cookies and be done. And I'm like, no, a couple cookies just get me warmed up. Like, I want to eat the whole box or bag. So there's, I started to notice, and that's why I so appreciate you having me on the show. Cause just, it's kind of like a knock, knock, like once you start hearing about this at first might be like, that's not me. But, if you kind of observe your habits, and I also have a quiz on my website that helps people determine it. So it's a
Mhm.
free quiz at healyourhunger.com, and it'll tell you whether you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. And so just take the quiz and you'll find out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think that like when people have the opportunity to like understand where they're at, like that awareness of like, what kind of eater am I really? Then that's when people start diving into stuff. So like having a quiz is great because
Yeah.
people people do like to know results. Like we are always like waiting on like, so what now? Like now that I know this, like what now? How do I move forward? So that's a fantastic idea to have like the quiz on there.
Yeah. It's super easy. It's free. It's like 2 minutes to take. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. So when you decide to start like making your programs and all that kind of stuff, when you have that kind of information, do you feel like this is good where I'm at? I just want to kind of tweak it, or are you like I can't wait to expand like much more in the future and add this and add that? Like, what stage do you think you're at?
Well, I wrote my book about 4 years ago. It was a bestseller on Amazon. People love it. So I definitely recommend that to people. Started my podcast 4 years ago. I'm up to about 350 episodes. I love that. I probably am due for writing another book, and I will probably do that sometime soon and probably base it on some of my podcasts because I get real personal on my podcast and talk about my own relationship with food and my own relationship with like with people and life and because I often say it's a living problem, not an eating problem. So I talk about that living problem thing and how to solve it. So yeah, but I do have a program online. Like I help people all around the world with eating. And I mean, nowadays it's just easier than ever with Zoom. And I do all my groups through Zoom. So there's a lot of room for expansion. And I mean, unfortunately, this is a problem that, as you mentioned, and we just talked about that. A lot of people don't really even know. I mean, here's a statistic: over 95% of all diets fail. And yeah, and if you do a search right now on Amazon for diet books, you'll get over 60,000 results.
Oh my God.
I know. And there's not a whole lot of new diet information. It's pretty basic. It's like eat your vegetables, get some good healthy protein and fats, and stay away from fried foods, and sugar. So it's pretty standard what those are going to say, but it's sexy. Like, oh, the new diet, oh, the new this or that, but that's all symptom related. Overweight is a symptom of overeating and overeating is a symptom of what's eating me. So it's really important that people start waking up to this, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I've barely scratched the surface, I think, in helping people wake up to emotional eating and how to heal it.
What do you think is like the hardest struggle that you have to help people with? Is it just like getting like that first start of realizing what's going on, or is it just the continuation of like, hey, this is my new life of eating. This is my new cycle.
Yeah, it's both actually. And you did nail it. I mean, at first it's hard. It's really hard for people to slow down and pay attention to their health and to their emotions. So, we are so busy and overeaters tend to be overdoers. So we're always on the go, always putting other people's needs first, never slowing down long enough to catch our breath or eat a healthy meal. So just like feeling worthy of taking time to attend to ourselves and our own needs. That's big for an emotional eater. But then, like you said, how do you keep it going once you're on a good, track? How do you keep that going? And the answer for me is the group support. And that's why I do my programs in groups, because when you have other people cheering you on and saying, atta girl, you're doing great. And you hear other people's experiences. So you realize you're not the only one who's done like strange, bizarre things with food, it's like it makes you feel so much better. So it's just really important to know that, the problem doesn't go away on its own. I talk to people who have been dieting for anywhere up to 50 years of their life, and it's just, it's the same story over and over and over again. So, stopping and doing something different. A lot of people don't know there is something different you can do. Like I tell people, throw their scale away. Like, don't even weigh yourself, like stop dieting, stop, just get off that tack altogether. Let's look at this from a new angle. That's really what's going to make the difference for people, and having that group support.
Yeah, somebody told me one time they were like they hate the word diet because it's usually telling you something you can't do, not something you can do. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a good way to look at it because
Yeah, the
negative.
deprivation mentality. It's like, people, sometimes my clients are like, oh, I don't want to let go of sugar. I don't want to let go of that. And I'm like, I don't feel deprived. I'm like, deprived of what? Feeling bloated, having zits on your face, not wanting to hang out with your friends because your pants don't fit. What do you deprive yourself of anyway? Hating yourself, so there's a lot of upside to not eating certain things that just make you feel crappy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, once people understand, the benefits, some people, they just get their whole life has revolved around this. I was talking to a woman one day and she was like, I never even realized it, but I'm like addicted to sweet tea. Like I just always thought I just had sweet tea in the house and I drink it, but I didn't realize I'm addicted to it. I was like,
Yeah,
pretty crazy because
it
people, they
is.
aren't like mindful of what they're actually putting in their bodies.
Yeah, so true.
And the big thing for me, for people who need to, I guess, develop a kind of, I guess, a mindset of how they eat is I guess it's for people who, as you said, are busy and they're just always on the go. Because like if you ever see somebody like constantly, doing something, then it's like, yo, when do you have time to, prep the meals that you really should be eating, and then going to the grocery store and picking all that stuff out? Like that stuff takes time, and so those kind of people really need that mindset and something to just be like, yo, it's time to eat correctly and take the time to prep your food.
Yeah, it does take time, and a philosopher I love once said, if you don't have time to be well, you'll have to make time to be sick.
Mm,
And so it's real. We all have 24 hours. I mean, there's nobody on the planet who doesn't have 24 hours in a day. So it's really how we spend that time. And I know it's hard when you have a job and you got a dog and you got 3 kids and a lazy spouse. Like I get it. Like it's like really important that, you get support, because otherwise everything just drags you down and you're like, it's just impossible. Like, how could I possibly do this? But, my clients start to fit, meditation in their day. They start to kind of have a little morning routine. But the benefits of it, like it makes the rest of their day so much easier. And I tell people, if you put your health first, if you do take the time to prep the meals, if you do take the time, which is really self-care, you'll have more time and energy for the people you love. It's just really important to realize that like, when you think you don't have the time, it's really, you can't afford not to. Like, I can't afford the time. You can't afford not to, because you don't want to be sick and breaking down, and try to, like sort of drag yourself through life. You want to have energy and be happy and be able to get around, not be immobilized by, weight and sickness. So it's just really it is about changing the mindset, but really about the support, because your head is going to argue with you. Your head's going to be like, oh, you don't need to go to the store. Just order pizza, oh, you don't need to go exercise, just hang out here. The next great show is coming on, and there's a cute cartoon once I used in one of my newsletters. It was a doctor talking to a patient. He said, which is better for you, exercising 30 minutes a day or being dead 24 hours a day, So, hey, there you go. Pick your poison.
absolutely. I mean, that's one way to look at it. So when you've got this book out, and it starts hitting shelves, what was your expectation? Did you think it was just going to fly off the shelves and everybody is going to just start, oh, Trisha this, Trisha that, or you're like, what was your expectation?
No, that hasn't happened yet. I mean, I did write, I did a lot of promotion of it right up front, which is how I got bestseller status on Amazon. But, first of all, every shelf is proverbial now. So everything's online. It's sort of a slow drip, so it's definitely not, I didn't get a run on books or anything. But when people I do a lot of podcast interviews and I have a lot of shows on my own podcast. And so when people hear about me or hear me, the first thing they usually do is order my book. It's $10 on Amazon. It's Feel Your Hunger, 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. And it really is a good book. Like, I'm really proud of it because it really lays out what emotional eating is and how to overcome it, like my whole step-by-step process. So it's a good representation of what I do and who I am. And I get very personal in the book and I tell my story. But it gives people so much hope. Like it really makes people realize they don't have to struggle. Like they don't have to struggle. They don't have to fight food. They don't have to diet, And so I just hear so much good feedback, like, wow, like this really, I learned so much for this. And it's kind of the kind of book you can open it anywhere and start reading, and it's got cool quotes, it's got cool cartoons. And so It's sort of a ray of hope for people. And I'm just proud of that for sure.
Do you think that your message in your book was something that needed to be, I guess, more harsh, or something that needs to be more like soft and hopefully, I guess, more gentle information?
Well, I'm not Jillian Michaels from The Biggest Loser. Okay. So I don't yell at people. My experience is as emotional eaters, and those of us who have struggled with weight and obesity, it's a hard go. Like it's a hard knock life to be fat in this culture. Even though 1 in 3 is fat in our culture, like obese or overweight. I mean, we have we're supersized in this country, but still there's major stigma against being overweight,
Yeah.
and so I mean I'm thin now. I've lived it. I know the shame and humiliation of it. So I don't see any point in being harsh about it, because people aren't overweight because they're bad or because they're lazy or have no willpower. It's really, they're going at it the wrong way. They don't realize that they're emotional eaters. They don't realize that they don't have willpower, and it's not their fault. So I just, my programs, I mean, I'll tell the truth about about the fact that diets won't work. Like I'll be pretty straight and clear about that. But in terms of really helping people address, some of their feelings and stuff, that takes a lot of love and compassion, because a lot of people who eat start at a very young age and they were using food to just cope with life because life was hard. I mean, a lot of emotional eaters, a lot of people who are obese had trauma in their past. They grew up with an alcoholic parent or a raging parent or a drug addicted parent or, sexual abuse or physical abuse. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was not easy. And food was like the only thing we had to turn to. So that was, I mean, thank God we had food to turn to. Otherwise we might not have survived our childhood, so yeah, it takes a lot of love and care, because we are, we're kind of wounded birds, and we need the love. The love is what really helps us heal.
Absolutely. Well, Trish, I want to get you out on time. I promised you that. So I'm going
Thanks.
to let you go. Go ahead and give everybody, I know you said your book title, but do it again for all the ADHD people and any way people can contact you, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, the website's a good way to go. It's sort of a one-stop shop. It's healyourhunger.com. So it's HEAL, healyourhunger.com. The free quizzes on there. So start with the quiz. You can access my podcast from there, but if somebody's into just subscribing straight from iTunes, it's called the Heal Your Hunger Show. Everything's Heal Your Hunger. So the Heal Your Hunger Show. My name's Tricia Nelson. Yeah. And Instagram, I'm Tricia Nelson _ at the end of the N and Nelson. I do a lot of Instagram. So definitely reach out. I'd be happy to hear from anybody who's looking to just change their life, their weight, their outlook on life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.